All right, so we have received a question from one of our client boss. What
Mhm.
is the best way to track expenses for tax purposes?
Yeah, I mean, there's a wide range of answers here. So the way I do it is I actually keep, obviously the business has a set of books, QuickBooks. I actually have a personal QuickBooks account. In our Trailblazer toolkit that we provide for a lot of our clients, you can keep track of monthly totals of things fairly easily, where it breaks down a whole bunch of different categories, and you can say, okay, I spent 3,000 on this, I spent 200 on that, I spent 56 on this thing, and you just put it into the right category, and then that'll keep track. The way the regulations are written are that you have to keep track in some way. They don't dictate how you keep track. So I've had elderly clients who would bring me, so you know how in Excel or Google Sheets you have a spreadsheet, right? The term spreadsheet comes from an actual piece of paper that people used to use. And I had clients in the mid 2010s who would still bring me giant pieces of paper with a whole bunch of columns and a whole bunch of lines across and says, I totaled up this for this rental property and I've got income and I've got that. And of course, they're all wrong because people make mistakes doing arithmetic. So I have to go in and back check all the numbers and everything. But that is a way of keeping track, right? It's not a good way, but it is a way. Personally, I would say use a spreadsheet program. Could be Excel, could be Google Sheets, and you just keep a general ledger. That's usually sufficient. Date, what the expense was, like the amount, and what the expense was as far as description. And then you can have another note for whatever business or whatever purpose that expense had. I'll give you a counterexample to that, though. Just today, I had a meeting with some reps from ADP, the payroll processing company. We met for lunch, and I paid for my own lunch, and I put it on my business credit card. And the documentation supporting that is going to be the event in my calendar, the emails coordinating that meeting over the past week, where we set the time and all that kind of stuff. And they're going to be emailing me some stuff. And so all of that together creates the contemporaneous documentation that shows that this meeting had a business purpose. So if anybody were to ever ask, why did you expense this $12.59 for a sandwich and a drink at this cafe? I said, because I was having lunch with these people from ADP talking about payroll solutions and all this kind of stuff. So it was all 100% business oriented. And that's my proof. And for that's perfectly sufficient, right? I don't need to then create another list with that same description and the amount and everything because that information is already captured in those different places. Now, if somebody were to ask, it would be a pain to go dig those things up, but that's on me. That's the risk I'm willing to take. That if anybody were to ask about that particular expense, I can then justify it by finding those emails and finding the Google Calendar reservation or whatever and tying everything together. On how comfortable you are. The best single answer to that is just keeping a ledger. And a ledger is just an accounting term for a list of things with numbers, dates, descriptions. And that's going to be sufficient.
Understood.
That's all of them.